What is up, everybody? It is Drew Travel with Burning Abyss here with another video, and today I promise to do a Burning Abyss deck profile. This is my best attempt at a run-on sentence to start the video, so I'm making sure that I can go ahead and present this video to you as quickly as possible. I did that whole thing in one breath. That's pretty impressive. Anyways, before we jump into the video, I wanted to make sure that everybody heads over to my community tab and you look at the Q&A thing that I posted and you write a question because I want to do a Q&A video, and I think currently there's 3 questions, and I feel like I could probably answer a little more than 3 questions for my subscribers. Don't comment on this video with your questions, comment on that community tab if it's related to that. Obviously, for questions on this video, feel free to comment down below. I don't know how much I'm going to answer of those comments, but I'll do my best. I also want to state before we jump into the video that with the release of Magnificent Mavens coming out, that this deck is essentially unplayable. That's the best way of putting it. Unfortunately, the meta is going to get extremely boring extremely fast, and I'm going to probably be playing a bit less than I normally do. So before we jump into this, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and smash the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload more cool and awesome content like the video you're watching right now. And obviously the thumbs up button is always there screaming for you guys to go ahead and press it. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this week's deck profile. All right, so taking a look at the main deck first, per usual with most of my Burning Abyss lists, we will start with the Burning Abyss monsters. Starting off the standard 3 graph, because it's one of your big starter pieces. Very, very important to be able to see this card on your first turn. This deck does a lot of chain blocking, which is really important. It just, you know, kind of makes it so you can resolve stuff like this no matter what, which is pretty darn cool. Then we have 3 copies of Seer. I will live and die by this. I think that 3 copies of this card is optimal and ideal in every sense. I think that it's very important to do this because of the amount of recursion that you're going to get from playing this card. So yeah, 3 copies is perfect. 3 copies of Skarm, because you want to be able to grind with this deck. Like, the more that you can grind things out, the better your odds are. Like I said, in the upcoming meta with the upcoming release of Magnificent Mavens, it becomes very difficult for this deck to even be on the map. So you're not going to be able to grind as much as you'd like to, but the cool thing is you can get your stuff milled off of a Shizu stuff. So yeah, that's always something. Then the 2 ofs, I only play 1 2 of. I'm playing 2 Farfa. I wanted to play 3, but I don't have any room in here to squeeze a 3rd one in, so we're sticking with 2. Yeah, this is a trap variation of the deck. I haven't posted a trap variation in a while, but I felt that traps were good, so yeah, we're going with traps today. Then the 1 ofs, I play 1 Barbar, 1 Libic, and 1 Alec. All these are here for a reason. They serve a purpose. Considering the format is so grindy, Barbar is actually really good. You can just burn your opponent, which is obviously of the utmost importance. The Libic is just always a solid play. Like, you can go ahead and do a lot of link climbing because of this. And the Alec is sometimes good, sometimes not, depending on the matchup. But let's go ahead and move these over. And then our supporting stuff. I'm still on 1 Rhino, 1 Tour Guide. I will not budge from this. I think that this is completely correct because I don't want to get hand trapped, and I know I will get hand trapped. I mean, Ash is obviously prevalent, which destroys this, as well as Imperm, which also destroys this, but also destroys Rhino Warrior, because if your normal Rhino Warrior special with BA and the Imperm this, your BA just is gone. So yeah, that's pretty important. Then the last, like, actual monster is 1 copy of Backjack. Obviously, this is a trap variation, so this card's really good. And being able to banish it from your graveyard is obviously ideal to reveal the top. And if it's a BA name, that's fine. Like, if you have this hit grave, you look at the top 3 and you hit 3 BAs and one of them was a Farfa, like, you just put the Farfa on top, banish this, mill the Farfa, and banish one of your opponent's cards. So yeah, that's pretty good. Moving on to the only other monsters we play, though, is 3 copies of Lava Golem. I thought about playing Sphere mode, but because this deck can make Zeus, I felt that Lava Golem was actually better. So yeah, we're playing triple Lava Golem, and I think this card is pretty fantastic. Those are all the monsters, though. Moving on to the spell cards now. All right, so the first spell card that we're playing is 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet because we have to be able to break apart boards, and this card is actually really good because it will trigger your BA names, which is obviously pretty darn good. Being able to send like a graph and trigger a graph is fantastic, or you send a Farfa. So yeah, that's actually really good. I like it a lot. Then we play 2 copies of Pot of Desires because drawing cards in the trap variation is important. I was playing Prosperity for a long time, but I've kind of moved on from it in this list because my extra deck is pretty important in my opinion. But yeah, I think Desires is really good to draw into the things that you might be missing. And then the 1-ofs, we play 1 Foolish Burial and 1 copy of Call by the Grave. So I think that the Foolish Burial is basically just another BA name, which can be fantastic. Or if you open up combo, you can always send, you know, something like a Backjack to set things up, which is pretty cool too. And as far as the Called by goes, this is just like one of the best cards in the game, so why wouldn't you play it? Moving on to the trap cards though, I think we're playing 13 trap cards, something like that. Yeah, so we have to start off 3 copies of Imperm. So basically our going second cards are Imperm, Droplet, and Lava Golem. I think that they're some of the best going second cards. I think that obviously, you know, there are other cards that can be argued for as far as, you know, playability and power and strength. But for me, I think that these are some of the best options. And yeah, obviously, like I said, everything's going to change with the release of Magnificent Mavens. Everything is just going to kind of blow up, and it's just going to be a Shizu Tearlament just tearing things up. But then we have 3 copies of Dynamiscus because banishing stuff is really good and triggering your BA names is really good. It can also be another body on the board sometimes, which can definitely make things slightly easier. You know, you flip it, it goes to grave, you flip another trap, you summon it out, and then your IP could always use it to make a unicorn, which is actually pretty dope. So yeah, playing 3 of this, definitely a necessity. 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. This card is really crazy if you open it with combo too, because like you just send Backjack and then you get more traps out of it. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that card. It's really good, and it's really good against Tearlament. Anything graveyard based, this card is fantastic against. Then I play 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill. I thought about playing 3, but once again, I was a little short on room, and I don't like to go over 40 in a lot of decks right now. So yeah, I think that 2 Breakthrough Skill is good. It can obviously be used from the graveyard on your turn, which is fantastic. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can hit with this that obviously will be hurt by it. And then lastly, 2 copies of Trap Trick because we want to be able to get to our trap cards, and this card does the job. Gets to whatever we want. Obviously, we can only activate 1 more trap for the rest of the turn after that, but that's perfectly fine. Usually when you're flipping this, it's like the end of your trap plays for the turn after you use the card that you set off of it. So yeah, that is the main deck though. We're going to go ahead and jump on over to the extra deck so you can see the ratios we're playing for this meta. All right, so looking at the extra deck now, we're going to start with the standard stuff, which we already know about, which is 2 Dante, 1 Beatrice, and 1 Purple Dante. I do think that this is just what you should be playing no matter what. I think that this lineup is extremely important. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. A 3rd Dante doesn't ever come up, like 2 is more than fine. The Beatrice, obviously it's limited to 1, and then the Purple Dante is just a card that when it hits the field, usually you win the game. So yeah, those are the basic 4. Then I'm playing 1 Fortune Tune. This card is crazy because, as I've mentioned before, the grind game in this format is insane. So being able to put this card on the board and then gain life and have, you know, it possibly go into time and you win by 500 life points can be pretty nuts. So yeah, I think the card's really good. And then we do play the Downward Magician, which allows us to go up into our Zeus. I'm only playing one Zeus and I'm only playing one Downward because we're not playing Pot of Prosperity, so we don't have to worry about the banishing stuff from the extra deck. And on top of that, Zeus is not really good against Tearlament because you send their stuff to the graveyard by a card effect and then their effects go off, which we don't want to cause. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then the last XYZ stuff is the Darius Deus Machina engine. I think that this is a fantastic engine. I don't have too much more to say on it. It's just really, really solid. It helps you beat over stuff and then just make a Zeus if you need to. So yeah, really, really strong. Moving on to the links though, we have one copy of Gravity Controller. This is the 15th card in the extra deck. I literally could not think of something else to put in the extra deck, and usually I can figure something out. I mean, there are some things that you could put in here, but I wanted to just play a random card. This could be replaced by basically whatever you want to replace it with. It's honestly the least useful card in the extra deck. I've been very, very adamant on this for a while that I don't like this card at all. I think this card is garbage, like complete dumpster fire of a card in this deck, but some people who are bad at the deck play it, so whatever. Yeah, this is the 15th card. Make this whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Then we have, for the Link 2s, a Cherubini, an IP, and a Dark. So the Cherubini helps for link climbing. I've talked about that in a lot of videos prior to this one. I think it's a very important card and it serves a very important purpose, especially going second. The IP is obviously fantastic going first. This card should be played in every single Burning Abyss list. It's almost as important as Dante, almost. And then Dark Charmer, like a lot of the meta is going to be dark cards, so yeah, why wouldn't you play this? It helps you link climb too, so yeah, really good card. Moving on to the only Link 3 we play, which is one Nightmare Unicorn. This is obviously used primarily with IP or with Cherubini or Dark with link climbing. So yeah, this card does come up a fairly large amount because you're trying to remove your opponent's board. And lastly, this is another flex spot. It's more so what you want to play for a Link 4. So I currently have Boral Sword, so you can play Access Code if you want, but Boral Sword almost enables more OTKs, which I think is very important. So I opted to put this in here because Access Code isn't that good against Tearlament because they'll trigger graveyard effects, which you don't want to have happen. And it's not like Salamangreat where it's going to be able to attack twice. With an Access Code, I mean. With a Boral Sword, you can attack twice in this deck. So yeah, I think attacking twice is important because of the stat gains it's going to get, and the fact that you're probably going to be able to OTK in this deck, because whether you have a Dante or a Beatrice up, you're going to be able to swing twice with this, and obviously once with the other monster. So and his stats are going to be gigantic. So yeah, that is the entirety of the extra deck. We're going to go ahead and jump on over to the side deck to see what I would suggest for the most part siding against this meta. So let's take a look. All right, we are now on to the side deck portion of the video, which, as we all know, is the last portion of the video. We're going to start off with the hand traps, and once again, we have more cards for time, and 3 copies of Spooky Dogwood is probably one of the best cards that you could be siding right now. There's going to be a lot of games that go into time, and you're going to want to find a way to ensure that you can win at pretty much any cost necessary, and this card definitely does some work. You can play Ghost Mourner if you want to play Ghost Mourner, but I think that Spooky Dogwood is okay and a really good card. If you do want to play Ghost Mourner, you'd have to kind of figure out what you're cutting in the main. Like if you can't afford to buy something such as Forbidden Droplet, then I would say play Ghost Mourner if you can't afford Forbidden Droplets, because at least it'll negate an effect and it'll burn your opponent when their monster leaves the field. So yeah, pretty good. Then 3 copies of Dark Ruler. So I was very back and forth as to whether or not I wanted to main deck Dark Ruler or Droplet, but I knew whichever one I main decked, I would end up siding the other. I think you do need more board shutoffs. If you want to play something like Sphere Mode, you can, but I don't think Sphere Mode is as good in this deck. So yeah, I opt to go with the Dark Rulers, and I stick by that. Then we've got 3 copies of Cosmic for back row removal. Additionally, we have 3 copies of Evenly. So I think that these are obviously fantastic cards that do a whole lot. I've really stuck by Evenly for quite a few formats. For a while, my card was Artifact Lancia. If anyone's been keeping up with the channel for a long time, you'll know that I was a very big advocate of Artifact Lancia being in the side. Now, I'm fully behind Evenly Matched. Like, this is just my side deck card. I side this in almost everything. Yeah, it's really, really good. So, and then the Cosmics are just fantastic removal. You out mine, you out whatever else you have to out. So yeah, those are the only other cards for really going second. And then lastly, we have 3 copies of D-Barrier because we don't want to get punished by stuff like Tier Limit, any of the fusion decks. This will just shut them off as a whole. And yeah, this card is crazy. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you just shut off a whole deck for a turn, and then you probably OTK on your next turn. So, card's fantastic. It puts in a whole lot of work, and really punishes the opponent. So yeah, I honestly can't think of much else that you would want in a card other than D-Barrier. I thought about playing Spellbounds in certain decks because Spellbound is a good card, but the issue is that it's not a trap card, and because we play Trap Trick, I wanted cards to work with Trap Trick, and D-Barrier does that. So yeah, that is the entirety of the side deck. We're gonna go ahead and basically wrap the video up here. I do love this deck. Everyone knows this is my favorite deck, but I am more than well versed to understand when it is time to play the deck that I love versus time to play a deck that's actually going to do well. I've been really high on Runic Sprite. Like, that's been my deck that I've been piloting a lot lately, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, right now with this meta, BA can't really compete, unfortunately. I love the deck. I'll obviously never stop playing it. I'm pretty sure I did qualify for my store's championship tournament, so I told myself if I did qualify, I wouldn't play something overly relevant. I would play something that's very off meta. So we'll see. Hopefully, the results should probably be in tomorrow, and we'll find out just exactly how I did. If I place in the top 16 players, then I will definitely be in the store championship, and I'm going to play something weird for it. So yeah, hopefully I'm there. If I am, obviously I'll record a profile afterwards, no matter how well or how bad I do. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, but don't forget to subscribe and turn that notification bell on. And for right now, this is Drew Traveler of the Burning Abyss signing out.